Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I am joined as always with Keelan. Happy Wednesday, Sunday, Monday. It's Monday.
Monday. I
Yeah,
had to
happy
keep writing.
Monday.
I couldn't catch it fast enough to even help you with it in time for a time thing. Happy Monday, brother.
How's it
No,
going?
can't complain. Can't
All
complain.
right.
Pretty sure we are not going to be able to keep up with the weeks. I mean, the days of the week this week. Pretty sure we'll be calling Wednesday, Friday, or something. But
Probably kind of a wonky schedule this week, but it
yes, indeed.
happens.
Yes,
Um,
indeed. And we have plenty for them, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, sir. And thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Hoping everybody's having a great evening or day whenever you're viewing this. We very much appreciate all of you out there. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a movie that's on Netflix that just came out, I believe, last month. I think I have the. No, it doesn't have the exact date, but I do believe it was last month. It's called Kill BOKSOON, and it's on Netflix. I just said that came out a month ago, and it's directed by Sung Hyung Byun, and it's stars Jeon Do Yeon, Isam, and Ku Kayu Hwan. And the tagline here is: a single mother who is a renowned hired killer finds it difficult to achieve a balance between her personal and work life. And this movie is about 2 hours, 17 minutes long. It's the trailer is pretty stylistic. I watched it and thought to myself, oh, this could be pretty cool. The story seems pretty straightforward enough. But let's jump into first impressions. I think we can just kind of mosey on into this. We got Big Mike in the house. What's up, Big Mike? How you
Big
doing, man?
Mo.
No, don't do that to John Lennon. BOKSOON, definitely. There you go. Yeah, so Keelan, what did you think? Kill BOKSOON. It's a South Korean film. It's dubbed, and there are English subtitles, but it's already dubbed, so you don't really have to worry about that. What did you think about the movie, man?
Well, the first thing I thought about the movie is what I think about any subtitled foreign film. Even though the dub is in English, you have to keep the subtitles on so that you get the actual translation. And sometimes those two things are not the same. With that being said, overall, I had fun with this. I enjoyed it. It was something I didn't expect. I didn't quite know where it was gonna go. Didn't know where it was quite coming from at first either. Wasn't sure what to expect. Um, some reminiscent feelings. The action wasn't terrible, but the cut scenes on some of the action was kind of like, wait, what did I miss something? Are we what? But not a lot of shaky cam. I could have preferred a little shaky cam in this. But I don't have anything really demonstrative to say off top. If I'm being honest, it's a long movie.
It
It's a
is a
long
long
movie.
movie. Yeah. Yeah, that's a kind of a bummer because right, you want to feel something one way or another, whether it's extreme dislike or extreme like of a movie. I don't know if this movie does either of those. I don't dislike it, but I don't 100% love it. When you say it's reminiscent, it definitely reminds me of John Wick and Kill Bill and some relational familial dynamics that we saw in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Um, and to be honest, I thought this was going to be a lot more stylistic than it was. And I was kind of disappointed that it didn't really lean into that element because the trailer definitely made me feel like it was trying to be. It was trying to be something akin to John Wick, but I just don't know if it got there, in my opinion.
It's funny you saw it being akin to John Wick. I expected it to remind us or give us like a modern day Crouching Tiger, like trying to mold that into something 2023 esque. Um, but that's where the assassin aspect of it comes in, because that was an assassin situation, but it was staged way back in the times in which those kind of things went down. Um, I again, I've said it a few times on the show. I haven't really dived into the John Wick stuff, like every detail of it. So like I usually when people say John Wick, I think to myself just like the clinical hitman murder movie. Not a mystery, but it's like we're following the killer through the steps of what they do and how they do it. They're going to be the best because they've been trained. We didn't have to see their training. And we've gotten those movies time and time and time and time and time again. It just so happens John Wick has kind of dominated it when it comes to the namesake. Uh, because of that, I think maybe we're kind of capped at what to expect in some of these movies when it comes to high assassin movies, even like with the Bourne Legacy stuff and all of that.
Hmm.
Mission Impossible, 007. It's almost like we're capped. Certain characters and or certain situations can only go so far. Even Deadpool technically is a mercenary film.
Right. Yeah. I do think you're probably right about that, which means that you have to stylistically kind of stand out. I think we saw this in something like Bullet Train, right?
Yeah, they
Um,
made it more
Bull-
artsy.
yeah, Bullet Train was very neon saturated, very sort of almost Guy Ritchie-esque in its styling, which gave it its own sort of feel and identity. I feel like this could have gone a little bit further into that mold, and I don't know. I think that it was trying to do two things at once, and it might have just not done either fully completely well. It wanted to be like this sort of poignant family movie on top of a, revenge, like John, get John Wick type of movie, kill BOKSOON, right? She's got to be killed at some point, but yeah, that's why I think stylistically you have to be very recognizable.
Right.
I could give you another example, and this is something that we actually reviewed. That movie Gunpowder Milkshake,
Yeah.
when she is fighting in the bowling alley. That is one of the only scenes that I like from that movie because it's in this sort of silhouetted, almost like Kill Bill in the tea house scene,
Right.
with neon lights and a
The
bowling alley and
styling.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I wanted a little bit more of that just to give it a little bit more personality. And I just don't think that we got that from this movie.
It's so interesting you say that. So what I'm gaining from what you just said is the personality would that you're looking for would have given it more of a higher brow, right?
Or
This
it could have been funny too, you know.
I think that could have picked the brow up a little too, just adding something satirical in general.
Hmm.
Uh I think they wanted to do the exact opposite. I think they wanted this to be as lowbrow, low sitting, maybe not lowbrow. Lowbrow may not because it wasn't like the fart jokes or anything like that. But
No.
low sitting, right? So you're not expecting gadgets, you're not expecting all the fantastical stuff. You're really just expecting hand-to-hand combat, couple of blood shots, and a bunch of stabbings. What do we get? Three shootings in the movie, and everything else was pretty much melee weapons.
Mm. Yeah, we'll get to there's one point in the movie that we'll talk about later on that I think is what I was looking for.
Mhm.
But it was very short-lived. So we'll get there when we get there. But I guess we can start this movie off as the premise basically is that Gil Boksoon is the woman's name, and she is an assassin. And she's not just an assassin, but she's also an unassuming mother who has a teenage daughter and is sort of living this double life where she's very potent as an assassin, but very impotent as a parent. And her relationship with her daughter is not very good, and she doesn't have very much control over her family life, which is supposed to be juxtaposed with this fact that she's a highly skilled assassin that is basically at the top level of all of the assassins.
Right. She has control over the boss basically, but ain't got control over her kid.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think in the movie they even have a line, right, where they say, killing people is easier than raising a kid, which is kind of the spirit of what this movie is trying to say, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe so.
so, Gil Boksoon, we open with this scene of a Yakuza man sleeping on pavements with a pillow, and he is only in his tidy whities, and he wakes up to lights and with the realization that he's outside on the floor and not in his hotel room. And we see that Gil Boksoon has brought him to this place to kill him.
And decides to give him a fair fight.
Well, up into a
For the
point.
most part.
Yeah, up into a point.
I mean, I guess no, technically, in my opinion, that was still a fair fight because she said, "You mind if I change from this?" And he said, "Yeah." You don't know what she was changing to.
Very true. Very true. They have this decision that she wants to do things a little bit differently because she had this argument with her daughter about fairness, and usually, we can glean from that. Usually, she doesn't do a fair fight because she's just an assassin. Her job is to kill somebody and not battle to the death.
Her job is to win.
Her job is to win, exactly. And so she tells this Yakuza member that to choose his weapon. She gives him his katana, I guess. And they proceed to have a fight with a 1,400-year-old katana and an Amazon axe. And as you can,
yeah. I'm gonna say, like from the Amazon. Like, oh no, she said she got it off Amazon that morning.
Right. Yes. And as you can probably glean, the axe doesn't hold up.
Well, not even in her thoughts. Like,
not even in her thoughts.
Yeah. So one thing I really enjoyed about Gil through this movie is she has like this next step premonition kind of thing going on, where she's watching your body language, she's looking at what you've brought to the table, and she can kind of assess what your strengths and weak points are. Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting. And by her using that, she saw immediately like, oh yeah, that katana's gonna slice straight through this axe and I'm out of here. So yeah, let me get a new weapon.
Yeah. Which I guess is kind of one of the elements that might be considered a stylistic choice. Maybe they could have done a bit more with it. There was a lot of the issue for me as well was trying to figure out what she was bad at, and she was really only bad at like her daughter listening to her. That's it.
Well, she was kind of bad at listening to other people in general.
But she's the best. That's why.
True.
Like she starts this at the best and ends the best, and so there is really no character development.
Yes. So something Gil says to her daughter about being like, she was basically telling her how she was raising her, and she was talking about the only thing you care about is your plants or something like that. But it was a kind of putting her in a position where it's like her daughter not understanding that her version of parenting is the same as her version of taking care of her plants. Like, I'm going to give you what I feel you need, and then I'm going to allow you to utilize it and grow. And when I come back, I expect to see some production from that. Not the greatest way to parent, but you mean, hey, again, the planting and everything else in her life works from that aspect, as you just explained. There's nothing she can do about it. It's the only way she knows. And once we got a little notion of what her family life was like.
Yes. And I guess, if you're living the life of a international assassin, you probably don't have a whole lot of time to read to your kid. So there's that. There's tension there, obviously.
Yeah, I was kind of bothered that you're this international assassin. You don't have time to be around your kid, but you also don't have like a staff.
Yeah, you're not rich enough to have a maid or something.
Yeah,
what's going on here? How come all these assassins are super poor?
Well, apparently
they all work for
not.
like these corporations that are like super luxurious.
Right. I'm like, apparently the rest of them are, but you saw her house. She was not poor.
I forget what her house looked like, to be honest.
A manor with a foyer.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. She's doing good for herself.
Looks like a plantation foyer.
Right. And a little bit of this dynamic sort of seeps into the movie too, about how great she is, because she goes to this sushi bar to sort of unwind at the end of a show, which is what they call doing a hit on somebody. Yeah. Where they have this conversation. She has this conversation with her comrades about what they're doing, and a lot of them are kind of resentful towards her because she's so good that she kind of takes all the good jobs. leaving very little for the rest of everybody.
Right, which is why I was thinking maybe it's just she's doing very well and not everyone.
I do
Um,
like that He Song,
mhm.
which is the guy that was there. He was the one making the critique about how she was taking all of the resources and all that stuff, and then he stands up and he's wearing a Che Guevara shirt.
Uh, he was. I didn't even
Yeah.
notice. Wait,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a Korean dude wearing okay.
Well, they have neighbors to the north that might sympathize with that whole
Fair
philosophy.
enough.
So,
Huh.
um, yeah, no, I just thought it was a little funny joke that they did because he was talking about redistribution of wealth and wearing a Che Guevara shirt. So,
Right.
um, but we find out that
Hmm.
Husong and Gil Bok Sung are not rivals as we
Right.
might think,
And
but
much more than mentor and mentee.
much more than that. Yes, they started off that way,
Mhm.
but we find out that they are in a relationship with each other,
Or so he thought. That was
or so he thought. Yeah, yeah,
that was a bit awkward. It seemed like a dare I say, seemed like that power dynamic situation going on there.
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit teacher student sort of thing going on.
Mhm,
Very strange.
mhm.
Um,
But that seemed to be a theme in this movie. Because you think to Gil Baksoon and um what's his name? Minkyu, MK?
yes,
Same
Q.
thing.
True.
So
Chairman Cho.
Chairman Cho, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Chairman Cho, not Chairman Cha, Chairman Cho.
Yes.
Um, and dare I say, this early in the movie, I was wondering through this movie, is he today?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he definitely
For sure,
is.
right? Okay.
Mike, finish the movie so you can come on and talk with us about
Hot
it. Stop with
Monkey
that hot
Lovin',
monkey love.
right?
Uh,
You can't talk about Hot Monkey Lovin'. You got to get to the end.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Yes. So the chairman Cho, which is sort of like the head of MK, which is the company that does
he's
all the
the Basil.
contracting.
He's
Um,
the Basil of the situation. She's the Austin Powers.
Pretty much. Or the what was Charlie's Angels? Um,
Charlie?
no, not Charlie. The other guy, the guy that helped
Oh,
them with everything.
Bernie Mac?
Yeah, but who did Bernie Mac play in that?
Bill
It was
Murray.
Bill Murray. Yes, he
I'm
was
being
also
funny.
in it.
His name was nope.
Bentworth or something like that.
Mm,
Bosley. I think it's
Bosley.
Bosley.
It is
Yeah.
Bosley.
Hmm.
And after the hair treatment thing.
Right. I know.
But
So what
you know,
happened? So I get a little bit soggy in the midsection here because we could probably, I think both of you and I can agree that this movie could shave some time off here.
for sure. I mean, you
Um,
have the initial situation with her daughter, and they've tried to make it all make sense. She finds her daughter's cigarettes. She has a flashback to when her dad caught her smoking cigarettes, beat her ass, and made her eat a cigarette. Whoa.
mhm.
Um, After that, we find out that uh, her boss isn't like super pleased with the way she did her last show because she wasn't really supposed to use a gun. So we kind of see that dynamic. We see the sister and the brother, Cho and Cha. We don't really understand what's going on there, but it's kind of weird. And she keeps putting her foot in her brother's face. And I was like, yo, that's hella disrespectful.
Yeah,
Um,
that gets very inappropriate at towards the end of the movie. So
yeah, she's a psychopath.
right.
Um, But then we see MK giving the rules as the crew was sitting talking about how the rules work and what's going on. You see uh Baksoon have like a flashback to that first day when it was all laid out. And MK just kind of let it be known that there are three rules to the company, and this is or to the organizations that we run. Every company is gonna have their own situation, and here are the main three rules. There will be no one underage. The company must approve of every job, and you must do a job that your company assigns you. I thought those were three solid rules. I really like that last rule that they added at the very end. But um, overall, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any issue with how he's trying to set this up.
No, no. I mean, it makes sense. You got to have some sort of rules, but we kind of find out that that Chairman Chow is sort of conglomerating all of the assassin guilds, and he's sort of muscling
Yeah,
out the smaller people because he's created sort of an empire where he is the top dog amongst the assassin companies.
clearly he willing to do the work.
Yes, he is definitely willing to do the work. Yeah, he doesn't have any problem getting his hands dirty per se.
Right.
Um,
We see or we meet Gil's daughter for the first time. Her and her friend are smoking a cigarette. This is after she's told her mom she's going to stop smoking cigarettes. They're still smoking a cigarette, and then we see them kiss. But then, the boys show up. Her friend's boyfriend gets there, and that kind of gets broken up really fast. But this is when it gets interesting to me, right? So we meet the daughter. The daughter's name was Jae Young,
mhm.
right? Jae Young tells the one little boy she's gonna kill him, and we see her start taking this interest in women killers. She even talks to her mom about doing her report, or excuse me, her debate on a female politician who's murdered someone, and realizing that most politicians in their community have committed murder, have a body or two, as we say, right? That was an interesting tidbit for her daughter to bring up more than once, and her mom to kind of just like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong here." Like, lady, you know what's going on.
Yeah. I think that that's all well and good, but I do feel like there was a little bit of like I think the movie was sort of implying, I'm sure it was that it's the mother's violent history and lifestyle that is sort of being manifest in her daughter and her insecurity about the potential violence that might be psychically transferring to her daughter.
In a way, I think they were trying to do that, but I also think they were talking about her parenting, just her absence of parenting,
True.
being not that distance from her father's abuse of parenting.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess right. Because Gil BOKSOON, she comes from a sort of abusive household, and now she has a daughter, but that's kind of a latchkey kid
Hmm.
that is basically neglected.
Right, right. That's exactly how she is. It's not how she feels. That's exactly what she is. She has everything that she could possibly want, but uh, what does that matter at a certain point?
Mm,
Especially when you I think that's the thing. Like she was being ostracized and she felt alone already. I like how they kind of brung it together at the end with her and her mother, but it didn't really seem like that was going to happen initially. Let's see. Excuse me. Gil Baksoon shows up to the school and she's greeted by Director Cha and then taken to a class where she meets the top student. The top student's name is Kim Yong Ji. Oh, something.
yes,
I
I
know it's
believe
Kim.
so.
Yeah, I know it's Kim, or maybe Kim Ji Young. But she's the top student.
Kim
She just
Young
put on
Ji.
Kim Young Ji. She put
Hmm.
on a great show. Everybody was watching, and then she gets to spar against the top level assassin in the company. I thought that was pretty cool, but it also felt like um basketball camps. Like, everybody has these stories now or everybody's always gonna have these stories about going to a basketball camp, playing the top kid versus the owner or something like that, and how that went down. That felt very summer camp esque
Oh yeah,
at that
it's
moment.
master versus apprentice,
Mhm.
very archetypical. And I think that that's where one of my main critiques of the movie come from. I wasn't 100% impressed with the combat. Um,
Right.
I feel like it could have been better. I don't know. It felt overly choreographed, and then there was a lot of camera tricks to sort of obscure the fact that it wasn't really combat. Um, I think in particular, I guess in the first scene when she's fighting the Yakuza member, they have this shot that's from behind the subway. So the subway's moving and you see them
Mhm.
fighting through the
Do
windows,
that. Yeah.
which is kind of a cool idea, but it really just feels like it's serving to make sure that you can't see that they're not very good at fighting.
Yeah, I
Like
was hoping that we weren't gonna get a lot of those. We got enough
there were a lot of
distraction
those. Yeah.
fights.
It was just the camera. Like I can understand. Like you got to kind of take some, you got to take some creative liberties. You got to take some obscuring things. But there were moments where in the fighting scenes where you could tell that they were speeding up the film,
Hmm.
to get her reactions to be like this super speed almost.
Oh, oh,
Um,
oh, 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 oh.
right, right. It was kind of
Edit,
herky
edit out my
jerky.
sound effects.
And I feel like they also, because they probably shot these on modern digital cameras, you're likely not going to have any motion blur when you're shooting. So it, to me, when I watched this, it looked like they went in after the fact in post edit and added motion blur to the hands, so that you could, so that it would feel more fluid. Because the problem with new cameras is that they shoot in a frame rate where if you do something like this, it's not going to blur at all. And so that makes fight scenes really tough because you
Now we
can't
see
fake
get real
anything.
hand speed.
Right. Now we can see your real hand speed. Now we can see what you guys are doing. You can see that the punch was being pulled and you didn't actually hit the guy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
see the punch do this.
right,
Ooh,
right.
that's hilarious.
So that those little elements to me were I understand why they happened, but it just, to me, it was like, okay, well, if you had a better fighters and choreographers, you probably wouldn't need to have gone in after the fact and made it look like hands were moving faster than they were.
Right, flubbered it up to the normal eye because it's only the people who aren't trying to see that stuff that don't see it.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah,
sometimes, yeah. I'm not even gonna elaborate.
I th-
Sometimes stunts ain't stunts.
I thought the pen versus the knife fight was interesting,
Hmm.
but again, it did feel a little bit hokey, a little
I think
bit.
the concept of most of the fights were fine. It's just like you said, the choreography and all of that. A
Yeah.
culmination, putting it all together, doesn't always turn out the way we think or we expect it to.
Hmm.
Um, Baksoon takes a job and then basically, man, it's like she finds out her daughter stabbed a kid. Let's
Right.
try to find out the right way to say it. Like, oh, her
Randomly.
daughter tried to kill. But yeah, she just randomly finds out her daughter stabbed a kid, and she's just at a loss for words. Like, um, it's almost the same thing because right after this, so you have her daughter doing this like unsightly thing, and directly after that, the director starts talking about the unsanctioned jobs to everybody. And it's like technically her daughter did an unsanctioned job, right? Which
Mhm.
proved to her mom she wouldn't be cut out for the life, even though she had some certain tendencies. And then her realizing that clearly was starting. That's around the time I started noticing she didn't want to be in the life, but she understood that she had a talent and she would be protected by Cha or Cho. And that's really how she gets this far. Like she knows there won't. That's not going to happen for her daughter.
Yeah, I don't think that she wants her to be in this field of work
Not at all.
either.
Not at all.
Yeah, so that's why she sort of responds aggressively about her almost killing somebody, which
Right.
she
Yeah.
admits that
Legitimately.
that's what she was trying to do.
Mhm.
Um, which that's an element too that I think that was sort of like interjected into the story that probably didn't need to be there. Um, I just don't know how much it adds to the story that her daughter was like a murderer for a second, and then
Right.
later on is like, "Oh, I'm totally not a murderer.
She
I'm
could have
not
not had any
crazy."
kids at all.
She could have not had any kids at all, I suppose, sure. But if you wanted to do the mother-daughter thing, you could have done that and just had it been that, she's been neglected and she just wants to have a mother. And not like this idea that like somehow Gil Boksoon's violent nature is
Rubbing off.
translating to her daughter.
Hmm. She's becoming softer and her daughter's getting stronger, like the one.
Right. Next movie, they'll have to kill each other.
That's right. To the
Yeah.
death, 1v1.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but so she finds out that her next show is coming up. She takes the next show and then it's a training session, in fact. So she's taking the intern with her, and that's really not a problem for her. Like she doesn't mind showing the intern around, but Gil makes one mistake, which is something she had told the intern not to do. She read the letter that she was supposed to leave for the
Hmm.
accident she was supposed to create. And that's where everything kind of turns on its head because she is not feeling this situation. The parent is the one who's paying them to do this to take their kid out.
Right. Yes. It's the senator, and he's in trouble because he paid to get his child into school, and then it became a big thing, and now he's paying for this company to kill his son and stage it as a suicide.
Hmm.
I guess in an effort to get him more political power, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure at that point, and get
Yeah,
people to feel guilty.
right.
Oh my
But
god, I can't believe we judged him so bad.
right, but Gil Baksan is not willing to kill this person, which is, I guess, the first break in sort of company man
Yeah,
character that she is, and it just I don't understand why.
because she has a child and it's supposed to show her level of compassion. It doesn't translate well, but that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, because she's been doing it for this long without any problems. And it's
And
like
you know this won't be the first time.
you never come across somebody with a family, like
Well, she makes
like,
it seem as if she's never broken protocol and read the information.
right, right, yeah.
So by her reading the article, or excuse me, the letter, that's where she supposedly has a change of heart.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
which yeah, it's not a whole. It really only serves to the story because it's the impetus for the company to start turning on her.
mhm.
Um, Even though it really isn't, because she just makes a deal with Chairman Cho right after she
Yeah,
refuses the job.
yeah. Refuse a job, makes a deal to stay on as they don't have anybody else do it. But you know, yeah, I don't think director Cha cares.
No, Director Cha definitely doesn't care, but Chairman Cho makes a deal with Gil Bok
With
Soon
Gil
to
Baksoon. Yeah.
renew her contract indefinitely, basically, because a failure of this magnitude would be a disgrace to the company. And so
Mhm.
he's got to go out on a limb for her, and which basically, I guess, insinuates that she would be indentured to him for an
Life.
indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll set the timeline on this contract. Well, damn.
Mhm.
Whenever
And I
that
think underlying all of this too is this unspoken secret that Chairman Chow is Kim or Gilbok San's daughter's father.
right. Yeah. Of all the things they're trying to hide, that wasn't one of them that was really hidden well. It was like, can somebody just say it so we can stop asking?
Man, yeah. Well, he says it once. He says they were on the phone, and she says something about a mother, and he says, "Well, maybe you
Oh
should
yeah, you should
give
give her
her a
one.
father." Yeah,
Maybe you should give her a father. Oh, you
right.
want to be her daddy now?
Which that doesn't really get cleared up either. What decision did they make that they wouldn't let the daughter know that he's the dad?
I mean, maybe. Nah, I ain't gonna say it.
Uh, Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
They've known
Well,
each other for
the
some time.
circumstances in which Gil Baksan and Chairman Shao meet each other are questionable at best. But we
Yes,
don't.
he's the
That's
assassin.
not. We're not there yet, are we?
Um, we're not too far from it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not too far from it. So yeah, so where we are is Jay Young. Well, nope. Sorry, I had to make sure I
This
looked
is why I
right.
got you for notes, man.
Right.
You keep us on track.
Yeah, she failed to preserve the contract, but in order to preserve her job, he can't. Basically, she protected that he wouldn't come after the job, and nobody else. She wouldn't come. Yeah, nobody else would be given the job, but she didn't protect her own kid, which was weird. Which is also something that tipped me off. Like, okay, you know he won't touch your kid. Aside from the fact that no kids is a rule.
Mm.
And it says the girl director or the girl and director child. This is actually exactly when it happens. I realized how I wrote it, and it even confused me. This is actually exactly when we get that flashback of director Cha as a young man, and he's hanging someone, and then we see someone walk in, and we find out that it is a young Gil, and the person being hung or hanged is her father, and she's the one who kicks the chair and lets director Cha know, now you're a witness here. What are we doing?
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of cold. That was kind of hard.
Yes, it was kind of hard, but she was also a
Her,
child.
yeah, cold blooded kid.
Yeah,
And I
a
don't. I think.
child.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the which when she understood where he was wrong is you took a child and turned her into an assassin because she was emotional.
Mhm. Yeah, and then assumedly had a relationship
Yeah,
of
assuming.
a
Yeah,
sexual nature at some point with that
yeah.
person.
I'm
So,
assuming that was way down the line, but it still happened.
who knows?
Nepotism.
I
Is
don't
that what
know
that
how
is?
far
I
down
don't
the
know what
line it
nepotism.
was, man. Her kid was like 16 or 17.
Fair enough. 17 plus, so yeah, but she was older. Yeah, I don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
So she talks to her mom a little bit. Jay Young does, and she's kind of opening up to her, and that's when the intern shows up unannounced because she's been fired, and she's been fired because they know she lied about the job, which also backfires on her much later. But she shows up. Baksoon lets her know, "Hey, you want to die?" She decides not to take her out, and she becomes very helpful. They kind of become friends. She's like one of the crew now, and she takes
Mhm.
her to meet the crew, and they discuss, you know, that they're all back there to celebrate because He Song has, completed a top level A case that, I guess he didn't know wasn't supposed to be touched.
No, because
I think he knew.
Director
I think
Cho is the one that assigned it.
right. I still think he knew it wasn't supposed to be touched because she told him
Maybe.
everything else.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is, right, he was getting all the C-level jobs,
Hmm.
and then he was finally bumped up to A-level,
Need that money?
um, and it was to complete the, senator's son job.
Yes. Yes, to
Yeah.
complete the failed, quote unquote, failed job. Um, and that's when they get that discussion going. And basically you find out that as they're having that discussion, Director Cha storms into the office, or Cho storms into Cha's office, and you realize that she's a little off her rocker because he's choking her like mad angry, and she is getting turned on and kisses her brother. And then she taunts him as to say, "You know, you want it," and he doesn't exactly say no, but he does leave the room.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure why they put that in
Why
there.
was that in the movie?
I have no clue why they put that in the movie. Like they clearly were enjoying a Game of Thrones rewrite too much,
Yes, totally.
and they
It
went
it's very strange because there was really no element that, like, ties
through the
into
whole
the
movie.
movie
Made no
at
sense through the
all.
whole movie.
Yeah.
Only
I
thing,
guess
well, except for her
yeah,
jealousy.
right, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Then just
this
don't make
extreme
her
level of
the
jealousy.
sister.
Yeah,
Just make her the right-hand person to
yeah. Maybe
Cho.
she could be the instead of having the intern, it should have been her because they were saying how Director Cho was so bad. If that's his little sister, she should be just as deadly.
Yeah, or just don't make them related.
Oh, that's right. Not supposed to be related, right?
Just
That's
don't
that
make them
trap.
related, and then everything is fine. She can still be jealous of Gil Boksoon.
It's true. It's very true. And she could have died in front of the camera
Right?
in a way we would have seen. But so,
Yeah, they did kinda cop that out, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
very. They tried at least. But so after she meets the crew and we see that Cho and Cha have a discussion, she doesn't like, or he doesn't like what she's done, but now it is what it is. She calls Hee Song. Gil answers his phone. They have a nice little talk, lets her know, "Oh, you'll be seeing me." And then Director Cha puts out the kill order. The kill order is for anybody within earshot of the message. You have the green light to kill Gil Baksoon, and you'll be automatically moved up to level B in our company.
Mhm.
I thought that was pretty clever of her. Stupid, but clever. Like you trying. You at least trying to save yourself some time.
Yeah, and this is very much the John Wick thing, right? And then
Mhm.
when they put an APB out to all of the assassins to get John Wick, and you'll get, whatever MacGuffin at the end of the thing. Um, yeah, and this fight kind of just sucked to me. There were some funny elements with the guy that kept getting the knives hitting him. That was pretty comedic. I could have actually done with some more of that in the movie. That would have been pretty funny. But they were doing something stupid, which was rotating the camera in a circle over and over again towards the end of that fight scene,
Mm.
and it almost made me sick. I almost threw up because of the just constant
The motion.
panning, a 360 pan
Mhm.
over and over, and I couldn't focus on any of the fighting. I just
Feel
couldn't
like you were
see
swiggling
anything.
your head the whole time.
Yeah,
I get you. I do understand
yeah.
exactly what you're doing. Wow, that's crazy. Uh, oh, so after they basically have a spittle spattle,
She kills everybody.
and she kills everybody, but she did get a little bit of help from Kim Jin Young, whatever, from Kim. And Hee Song is the last one to die, but that means he's the one who failed the contract. Now, director Cho threatens Baksoon, and this is when I was not understanding why he did this. He threatens her, and she has to now go home after being attacked, and uh, she's being threatened to stay with the company. But she also lets him know. So basically, I'm gonna go tell my truth, and if you don't want that, then you got to give up your sister. But and he threatens her. They go through the whole thing in her head, her next step thought processing, and that was what it was. But
And then she agrees that she's just gonna drop it
right,
and
it was like, but
everything's gonna be fine.
she still turns around like it's all good. Nothing like this ever happened. Sorry, I bring it up, boss. And I was a little thrown by that. Like she said, okay
Why would
to
she be in trouble for that? I don't get why the
the
chairman
boss.
would be, like, upset at her for it. It was his sister that initiated the order. I guess he's upset because she decided to fail that mission, but they already
Yeah,
had resolved
she's put it
that.
all into yeah, but she put it all into motion.
Yeah, but yeah, whatever. I just didn't understand why there would be a beef between Gil Song and then the chairman Cho. Like
Right,
he was on her side the entire
the
time.
entire time. Yeah,
Yeah,
so she kills his sister.
pretty much.
Um,
And then even still on her side, which we'll get into.
yeah.
Um,
So you have Gil and Jay Young. They actually sit and have a talk where Jay Young tells her mom, she comes out of the closet basically. And as much as she thought her mom was gonna hate her and be mad, and she's not. She's just like, hey, you don't have to hide who you are, which that was actually pretty cool. From the stance of typically we just get the pushback, 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 pushback in movies like this. For once to just kind of see it like, okay, yay, it happened, push it to the side. What's really going on with this storyline? Because that was not a significant part of the storyline. I
yeah,
appreciated the quick pace of that.
I think it. Well, I mean, I guess I appreciate the quick pace, but it also to me it was just like, well, Gil
Unnecessary.
Song is trying to shoo her away.
Hmm.
You know, like because she leaves after that, and like she's like, "Oh, we'll talk about this later,"
Hmm.
and
Her
she
daughter
does
also
tell
found
her.
her gun. Oh, sorry.
Right, right. Yeah. And she does tell her like, "Oh, like it's okay be who you are," but I don't
Hmm.
know. She kind of just shoos it off too. The only reason I think that that's a dynamic at all is so that there is tension between the mother and the daughter because there is no reason for there to be tension, except for the daughter thinking that her mom's going to judge her about being gay.
Right.
Like
And clearly,
that's
mom
the
don't
only
care.
thing. Well, she doesn't even care enough to
React.
be around. So
True.
of course she doesn't care.
True.
She's just being the negligent parent.
Well, in more things, she's negligent and not caring about. Her daughter told her she found a gun in her bag and a fake passport, and she's like, "You work for the CIA, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, I work for this." Yeah.
Better than I kill people for money.
I mean, more than the CIA pay.
Definitely more than the CIA pays, probably.
Got to pick your poison here, and I think she knows how to pick her poisons.
Mhm.
Um, but so next we see the chairman and he's hosting a meeting. Now, this meeting, in my opinion, it was like, yeah, this is what was supposed to happen. When the
Yes.
dude that's wearing the fatigues get up and run in his mouth, like, all right, tired of you. Tired, I
Mhm.
gave you plenty of passes. Tired of you. Time to go.
Bro,
Uh,
he's so gangster. He pulled
was
an
holding the blade.
Eminem murder. That is an Eminem bar. Grab or I light a candle on the mantle, grab a knife by the blade, and stab you with the handle.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I haven't heard about
and
that in a
that's what he
minute.
literally did.
Hey,
He kills a dude
maybe,
with the handle of a knife.
maybe we're going to find out that the director or at least one of the writers are heavy Eminem fans.
There you go. Maybe, maybe.
Um, but yeah, so he hosts the meeting, does what he needs to do, and basically we find out at the end of all of that because she was disrespectful to her and teasing the fact that they killed the intern. What's the sister's name again?
Oh,
Oh, director Cha.
director Cha. Yeah.
Cha gotta go. So She's up there with Baksoon. Baksoon kills her and leaves a bloody pin downstairs and says, "Please give the director this message." And it's basically known as the Bloody Sword. And it's a message letting him know we will fight to the death. He sets the time and place, the office that night. They have a couple of drinks. She's going through all these different scenarios in her head, and he basically finally asks her, "Oh, is it bothering you? You can't think of, you don't know what my next move is going to be. You can't figure out what my weakness is." And she lets him know very easily, "I know what your weakness is. It's me, Gil Baksoon." And proceeds to win within the next three shots.
Contrivance. And see, this is the thing, right? Because this is the stylistic thing that I was talking about in the beginning of the show that I actually really liked. Her visualizing the simulations of every fight and having them overlap each other throughout the room as the room goes around. That's a really cool shot. And it's a really cool idea. I love that. I think that that's the best stylistic choice that they've made in this movie. But for it to display the fact that she's going to lose probably 99 out of 100 times,
Yeah.
for her to just be like, "Oh, I know your weakness. It's me. You won't stab me." Ha 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 ha. And then he
Yeah,
just
see, I
kind
haven't
of
done those scenarios.
they do an exchange real quick, and he just kind of lets go of the knife so that she can catch it, and then she stabs him. I'm just like, dude, come
She
on.
stabs him.
Like, you couldn't have picked something a little bit better. I don't know. That just felt like, okay, well, if you knew that she was your weakness, then you could have just had somebody else kill her.
All right, I was gonna say, have somebody else kill her. That's what a master assassin would have done.
And
Um,
let's be fair, he put about 11 bullets around her as the elevator
yeah,
door opened.
on
And
purpose.
on purpose, just to show that he could have killed her. He should have killed her.
I didn't get it either.
Not one bullet even hit her. You couldn't even graze her in the shoulder to give her a little bit of a
A
handicap.
little something, a little flesh wound.
She's obviously taking on like 7 dudes at once. She's got superpowers.
She has the advantage. That is clear.
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
she didn't need it apparently. So.
no, not at all. She beats him, gets him all the way down, cuts him. He's bleeding out and dying, and he lets her know, "Your daughter's watching this." She looks up, sees the camera. She races home, makes sure. Oh no, Juana. Come to find out, it seems as if her daughter hasn't seen anything.
Which is odd because we see there is a shot in the movie of
Yep,
her watching.
yep. So that bothered me that we see that. Oh, her daughter just nothing happened, but it's like, so what was that scene about? Was that a part of a dream too? That's what she visioned that.
I guess you could imply that the daughter is not saying anything about it because she's cool and ride or die, and now she understands her mother more, which is why she left the door open.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess that's like kind of a stretch, but like,
Yeah, you see, I'm sitting over here.
yeah,
I get it, kind of. I hear it. Yeah, I hear you.
It's not very good, but it's I guess you can make those connections if you wanted to.
I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. It's funny about you. Like, if you wanted to, story's long enough with what we don't have.
But I mean, I guess you can't. Like, what other insinuation is there? Is that she didn't actually see it, and it was just one of the simulations that
Yes.
Gil BOKSOON was running?
Yeah, I think to me that's the only real insinuation that that fits, right?
Yeah,
like the only one that fits what we actually watched.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess so. Unless the daughter just doesn't say anything about it.
I mean, the daughter. It's plausible for her to not say anything because now she thinks her mom is being truthful with her already.
Or that she's cool because she's murdering people.
And she's like, "Oh, you're in the
I
CIA,
like to murder.
Basically,
I want to murder people. I like my mom now since she's.
I know that shit better not be called affluenza.
Yeah,
Just
right.
saying.
Yeah, maybe.
Saying. Not quite the same thing, I don't believe. But no, I get it. It's not, again, it's not one of those movies that make you like really like peel the page back, like, yo, how much more of this is it? It's one of those movies that really make you pause, look at the timeline, and go, all right, I'll make a taco and finish this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there was only one real scene that I thought stood out to me, and that was the end scene where she's running all the simulations against the chairman. Um, other than that, there wasn't anything that I was like, "Oh, wow." Except maybe the chairman beating the dude with the butt of a knife. That was
Yeah,
pretty good.
that was pretty crazy. While
Yeah.
squeezing the blade for
Well,
firm grip.
yes, yeah. That was yeah, that was pretty decent. I think that they could have probably done a little bit more of the gore. I'm still flabbergasted. We've talked about this before. I forget what review we did. Oh, I think it was Blade of the 47 Ronin or something like
Hmm.
that. Um, just the CGI blood with sword fighting and stuff. I don't understand why Kill Bill made it look amazing 20 years ago, but
Because
now
the
we
actors,
have to do everything in CGI.
right? I don't think the actors were afraid of going home with corn syrup on them back then.
Maybe. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of corn syrup. Lots of corn
Hmm.
syrup, but um it looks a hell of a lot better than CGI blood, that's for sure.
Right, right.
Um,
I mean, and that's for cinematic purposes. The people who, like you and I, who want to see that, if we're being totally honest, we're not watching the movies that they want us to watch, so we're not going to see that as much as we used to.
I don't even know how much practical effects are happening as much
Fair
nowadays
point too.
anyways.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, that's a fair point.
So yeah, I don't know. Do we have anything else? Oh yes, and so yes, they have their little are you okay? I'm okay. And then she's gonna go, Gil Boksoon is gonna close the door for her daughter so she can go to sleep, and her daughter tells her keep the door open, which is supposed to symbolize the
It's just
fact
a
that
child.
they've mended their relationship. Now she's open to her again. She's not closed off. The wall that has been brought down, and everything is right with the world.
Little kid business. Mom, just keep me safe.
Hmm.
I did think that was wholesome. That was a nice wholesome ending for that
Sure.
portion of that.
I think it's wholesome too. I just don't know if it's 100% earned. Um, I don't
Mm,
know because like I try to feel like the catharsis of and it's not fair of me to it's not fair of me to compare, but they did try to do the same mother daughter storyline in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
they
Um,
just didn't rush it.
well, that's exactly it, right? So
Mm,
the cathartic moment of that movie is when they're in front of the Everything Bagel, and Michelle Yeoh grabs her daughter and says, "I am your mother," and hugs her. Like that is
mm.
the big catharsis moment in that movie. I didn't really feel like this was a big enough cathartic moment. And perhaps if the daughter had been involved in some of the goings on of the assassin thing, maybe she gotten kidnapped or something like that, we
Mhm.
might have felt a little bit more of um, the relationship. But it just feels like, oh, all right, cool. Now she's not going to close the door, I guess.
Right. I think had they had any real bonding through this entire movie, anything they did, the way they did it in the towards the end or in the movie in general, any bonding would have had to change the dynamics. They wouldn't have been able to be so dare
At
I say,
odds.
yeah, it was almost like they were perfect strangers.
Right. Right. Because the movie needs them to be,
Yeah.
and not
You
really
don't
for any other reason.
right, and but it didn't seem like a you don't know me, mom type of a stranger. It was like a so are you in my house type of a stranger.
Yeah. And for how quickly the core issue is resolved with a very short conversation, it almost makes it feel like, well, why was there any tension in the first place?
Right.
Didn't really feel like there needed to be.
Yeah, I know because it just her mother's absence, but at the end of the day,
And
hey,
that's not even
who's
addressed,
paying for this
right?
big old house you in?
Right. And what is she going to do? Is she going to go be a creator of her own company? Is she retired now? Is she going to spend time with her daughter?
I
What's
get
going
the
on?
notion if we get a second box kill box soon, she's gonna be in charge of her own company.
That could have been so easily solved, by the way, there had been an instant where the daughter asked her to go do something with her, and she said no, and then at the end, she brings it up and says, "Let's go do that." Say it was like, she's about to go to college. Maybe it's like, "Oh, can we go tour colleges this summer?" And, Gil Boksoon's like busy, and she's like, "No, we'll see. I don't
We'll
know."
see how that works out. Yeah,
But
let's see
if
the
towards the
complexity of her.
end, yeah, towards the end, if she had mentioned, "Oh, I've already booked us, hotels so that we can go tour colleges together." then
six,
you'd be like,
6 weeks
okay,
on
so
the
now
cruise.
they're doing something together.
Right. Look, you hear me? 6 weeks on the cruise.
6 weeks on a cruise. That's a long cruise. A very long cruise. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I feel like there was some missing elements between the mother-daughter storyline there.
I think that's the biggest, to me, one of the biggest losses of this is there wasn't more of that. There wasn't more of the understanding that they had as a mother-daughter relationship. There wasn't enough of what their difficulties were. And I know this is really just what you've been saying. I'm just going to repeat it my way.
Mhm.
Their difficulties as mother and daughter, right? Let's at least have a flashback to when she used to beat the shit out of her daughter, and and now we're understanding why she's changing.
Something,
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure, but that's all right. Okay. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to add to it?
Why do I always paint the teenager as a shit kid? But other than that, no. Again, I enjoyed finding out what this was going to be about or how this was going to play out. Uh, Cinematically, not blown away, but not disappointed. Really, I'm with Nick on most of the fighting. Um, some of those shots need to be better. I actually wouldn't mind more shaky cam because you guys did not do shaky cam. You guys did wiggle like left, right, no cam. I guess. I mean,
Swirly
you can
cam.
call that swirly cam.
Mhm.
There are fun ways to do this already that exist, and if you have more to add, by all means, but at least give us some of those normal things that we're typically looking for.
Mm.
Uh,
I just think back to the fight scene in Kill Bill Volume 1 with Vivica Fox. Is it
mhm,
Vivica Fox?
mhm.
And Uma Thurman in the kitchen when her right before the daughter comes home to school and they're fighting knives in the kitchen. Like it's a very close fight and it looks really good for two people who aren't martial artists,
Hmm,
you know.
okay.
Um, so I don't know. I just feel like they're it's obviously Tarantino's in his own wheelhouse, but these choreographers have to be around somewhere that make it look good. Like,
Oh yeah,
let's try to punch up the fighting a little bit.
somebody's got to have passion in this thing. Everybody can't be Jackie.
Yeah, well, I wish. Jackie's got a new movie coming out where he's friends with an elephant, and I definitely want to watch
Oh, he's
it.
kicking elephant ass too. Let's go.
Yeah,
I can guarantee you, it's the new Jungle Book.
his buddy is. Oh no, it's not an elephant; it's a horse. I'm sorry. His best friend's a horse.
Oh,
Yeah,
wild horses. No,
yeah, and he fights
whatever that's
him and the
about.
horse fight bad guys. It's pretty good.
Oh, he's the new Lone. Never mind. Stop. Stop.
The Lone Ranger. Yeah. Hi ho silver. All right. Let's rate this thing.
Hey, now what you say now? I will get into this. So I didn't dislike it. Again, I will say that again. I did not dislike this movie. Fun while it lasted. Not sure if I'm going back again. Um, in the words of an internet comedian, it's almost like they had a little too much dip on their chip. I get it. We all get it. We understand what's coming. It's so bad that I have to keep saying, not so much as bad in the movie sense. It's just the execution makes you wonder, did you guys like how this turned out? I'm wondering. I'm
Hmm.
curious. With that, that's just that's gonna be my final thoughts on the movie itself. I'm not even gonna get into the weeds of dialogue and a couple of other things that had me like, yeah, I don't know contextually if that's what they meant. Dubbing. Listen, matter of fact, before I get my rating, something I'm always gonna have a negative on is, like I said at the top, the dubbing. The dub vocally and the subs never really add up. There is a lot of nuance lost, I believe.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes we get caught in between that nuance that is lost. But with that being said, I'm gonna give this a solid 5. It's halfway there. It's above the below mark, my below average mark. It's right in the ballpark of the average, but I don't feel like it's a below average movie, so I'm gonna give it a solid 5.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that there was some interesting ideas here. Again, this is kind of taking tropes that we've seen before and retexturizing them with not as much style, which I think is a problem.
Mhm.
Um, I think everybody loves a good assassin movie, but every assassin movie has its own style. You think of things like, again, like Bullet Train, Leon the Professional, John Wick.
Mm.
all of these things have a very particular style. And so if you're going to do an assassin movie, I think you really have to, you have to have your own style. Jason Bourne's another one. So I feel like that fell short. There were some interesting set pieces. Set design was interesting. Some of the, I guess, Art Deco style to some of the set pieces was cool. But the choreography I felt was lacking. I felt like there was a overly bloated storyline here that could probably have lost 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and that would have been fine. This at like an hour 40 would have been a perfect runtime, but I think it's about 40 minutes over that runtime. So yeah, I think it's probably about a 4 or 5 for me. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's great. I think it's pretty middling. There's nothing totally offensive about it, but it's just not anything that you would. It's not anything that's going to stand out and be like, whoa.
Right.
Except for
Right.
that one scene, and I really regret that they didn't try to incorporate that type of style more, because this movie could have been much better. So 4 or 5.
All right, 4 or 5 from you, 5 from me gives us a 9.5 out of 20. I think it's like around a 4.25, something like that.
Oh, it's more like a 4.8.
4.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it only comes down like 0.2 points from your 5. So
From there. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it stands higher than even we may have expected it to. But I think this is going to be one of those, when we get to the readjustments, it's going to drop a little.
It might.
I don't think this storyline is going to stand the test of time. At least, like, we're not going to look back and be like, man, I forgot how crazy that was.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem for me was just there's no character progression for Gil BOKSOON.
Fair.
She doesn't evolve at all as a character.
Mhm.
And that's just not interesting. It's
Mm.
just not interesting if your character doesn't get better in some way. If they're already just great at everything, and it's not like she got better with her relationship with her daughter, it's just that her daughter's being nice to her again.
Right.
She didn't do anything in particular to make that happen.
Yeah, it's like everybody else kind of seemed to grow around her, just not her.
Yeah.
It's almost like that she's too old to grow trope,
Yeah,
age.
I mean, they did that in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and you see how much uh, what's her name? Evelyn's character changes. Evelyn starts off as just a pill to be around, and she becomes a way better character at the end.
Right.
So there's just not a lot of character progression in this one. So
For sure not. Yeah, for sure. No discussion on. I mean, no argument on that for sure.
mhm.
All
All
right.
right, man. Well, you got anything else? We good? You want to wrap up?
That's what I got. We can head on out.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with us at Screen Time Continuum. We really appreciate all of you out there. Thanks to Big Mike for tuning in. I know that he watched it, and we were hoping that we were going to get him in. But hopefully, next time we air, we'll have Big Mike on, so that way we can hear his hilarious outtakes and opinions about movies that we are watching as well. Again, thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. A thumbs up and a subscription to the YouTube page would really help us out. We are at 136 subs, and we couldn't be there without you guys. So thank you so much for all of your support. We really appreciate it. We are on every Wednesday and Sunday, usually. Sometimes we have to mix it up and do an emergency episode like here on Monday when our schedules are conflicting, but usually Sunday and Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. We also have a network of podcasts that you might want to check out, and I'm going to hit that overlay so you can check them out here. And we have a podcast every day of the week except for Mondays, and you can go check those out. Each one has a YouTube page and a Facebook page, also probably a Spotify or a Rumble page. So go ahead and check out all of those great podcasts and come back here on next Wednesday. Keelan, do you know what we're doing for Wednesday?
I do not definitively know. I have some questions for the group, But it will definitely be up as soon as we know in on the community.
No worries. Yeah, we just kind of got a drop of new stuff, so we're gonna have to sift through
Mhm.
things anyway. So, yeah, sounds good. All right, I think we're done, Keelan.
We are completo.
We are
And I
complete.
appreciate everybody for checking in. We
Yeah,
didn't have to kill BOKSOON, but we watched them try.
they did try. They failed, but it's all good. All right, guys. Thank you for Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick.
And I am Keelan. Have a
Good
good
night.
one, nice.